I'm a digital artist and Minecraft mod designer, and I'm out of ideas. Fortunately, you guys have been sending me your ideas on my Discord for the past year, and I'm excited to yoink all your ideas and treat them like one of my clients on Fiverr. I'll be using all of my knowledge and expertise to flesh out the ideas and rope them into a realistic design doc, and I'll even be making some concept art for them in the process. It's gonna be a wild ride, and I can't wait to see what wacky mod ideas we come up with. If you like this kind of thing, drop a like or subscribe and consider helping me out through Patreon. But enough about me. Let's talk about the 4 ideas you guys sent in. First up, we have Enderpearl Pipes by Caleb Crow, a vanilla-styled fast travel alternative. Next, we have Magic Mushrooms by Aussie Toast. I'm sure you can guess what that's about. Then, we have the Mob Display Case by Cam Jolo, a smaller mod idea that I think has a lot of potential. And finally, we have Legally Distinct Rayquaza by Yugo Mula, a YouTube thumbnail bait idea if I've ever seen one. I can't wait to dive into these projects and see what we can come up with together. Let's get started. Enderpearl Pipes. The idea behind this mod is to create a copper pipe that you can throw enderpearls through, acting as a remote pearl launcher. Think of it like the portal in the end. Pearl goes in one end, travels down the pipe, then launches out the other side as normal. Caleb originally proposed using 6 copper for each pipe, but I think it would be more balanced to make it closer to iron bars, so let's change it to 16 per craft. Of course, copper is more common than iron, so let's nerf it a little bit and make it 8 per craft instead. But what happens when you have more than 2 destinations on a pipe? One option is to make it choose a random output, but if that doesn't work out in the code, we can always take a cue from the rail system and either default to one direction or use a lever to determine which way to go. As for what happens with the pearl itself, we can hook into the pearl class and check for pipes on hit. If we detect a pipe block, we simply pass off the entity data to the pipe and do the calculations there, then delete the original entity. When the pipe can't find another pipe to pass through, we'll create a clone of the original enderpearl entity and let it function as normal. In theory, you could even juggle enderpearls through the air like a water fountain. Overall, I think this is a really exciting and creative idea, and I can't wait to see what we can do with it. I can see a massive wall of pipes with signs over them pointing all over a mega base or even across the world to another player's house. I made a concept model to help with some visualization of how this would look, and here it is now. Magic Mushrooms. Aussie's original idea for this mod was pretty bare bones. All it gave me to work with was the concept of grinding up a mushroom with some redstone for a mix of good and bad effects. But I want to take this idea a step further and bring in nether fungi as well, plus some more dust items to play with. Let's break down the ingredients we'll be using. For the fungi, we have red mushrooms, brown mushrooms, warped fungi, crimson fungi, and we'll even throw in netherwort for good measure. As for the things you can crush up with them, redstone is obviously a no-brainer, but I think glowstone dust and coal would be interesting additions too. Now, a lot of mods have done the whole mortar and pestle or crusher thing, and I'm usually not a fan of rehashing someone else's idea. But like I said at the start of the video, I'm fresh out of ideas. So for now, let's just use a bowl and the crafting table with the ingredients that you need. To add some more gameplay mechanics, let's say you could also make a dust launcher using a crossbow and a bowl, kind of like a handheld catapult. Now for the fun part. Let's assign abilities to each of these items, then mix and match them to create special effects. Red mushrooms could give you nausea since it looks like the
Amanita muscaria. Amanita muscaria.
which is highly poisonous. And regen as well, cause I don't know. Brown mushrooms could give you strength since brown is the color of the earth and the earth is strong. Warped fungi could give you water breathing since it's kind of fun to have to go to the realm of fire to be safe from water. Crimson fungi could give you invisibility or night vision. Netherwort could give you speed. Then you could mix these base materials with either redstone dust or glowstone dust to create consumable powders. Redstone would add haste to all of the above effects, and glowstone could add jump boost. Coal dust, on the other hand, could have the opposite effect. It's historically pretty bad to inhale, so let's make sure everything made with coal actually reverses the effects. Regen becomes wither, strength becomes weakness, invisibility becomes blindness, and speed becomes slowness. Water breathing becomes fatigue because, This idea is relatively small scale, but it's easily expandable with more combinations of items or different vanilla effects. Plus the idea of being able to launch these dusts at enemies adds a fun mechanic and a support role to the game. Mob Display Case. Cam Jolo's original idea was pretty straightforward. Create an item that you can use to turn a mob into a lifeless version of itself, entombing it for your viewing pleasure. But I think we can take this idea a step further and add an actual case to store the mobs in. Let's use iron bars, gold, and lapis to craft a mob trap item. When you use this on any mob, it removes their AI package just like a console command does. Then we can use the same crafting recipe with glass panes instead to create a mob display case. Use this on any mob that's been disabled with the trap, and you'll have a miniaturized version of the mob on display in a glass case. Ideally, we also want the mob to keep any armor or weapons they have equipped. This one might require some heavy borrowing from the spawner code to get that little display just right. Legally distinct Rayquaza. Okay, this is the idea you've all been waiting for. Yugo Mula's original concept feels like something a certain crafter might pitch to me, and yet I can't resist its allure. The idea is this: a legendary serpent boss that flies through the air, arcing lightning from its chinward spike and swirling around in looping motions. It can trap the player inside the loops and charge them directly, even summoning whirlpools. When you defeat it, it drops electric thorns, serpent wings, a serpent bow, and a serpent sword. There's something about a giant electric eel flying through the air, summoning lightning bolts and gusts of wind that just speaks to me. Maybe it's the nostalgia for that certain Pokemon, or maybe it's just Maybelline. Either way, I'm drawn in. That said, this idea is a great starting point, but it falls into the trap that so many mod ideas do. It's very grandiose and has very little substance. So I'm going to borrow heavily from the Ender Dragon fight to give this concept some depth. First, let's change the loot drops. We'll keep the electric thorns, and then add Sky Serpent leather and Sky Serpent bones. Instead of a bow, sword, and wings all being drops from the creature itself, I want those to be craftable items. Combine the elytra with the serpent leather and you'll get serpent wings, a high durability version of the elytra with a skin that resembles the serpent itself. Use some electric thorns and a Sky Serpent bone for a handle and make the Sky Serpent sword, an electric themed diamond tier sword. Use those same serpent bones with a single spike in the middle for the bow to create the Sky Serpent bow, a bow that pulls more rapidly than normal. There's room here to add some new enchantments too, like one that calls lightning strikes down on critical hits, that could go on the bow and the sword, or maybe even one that grants swiftness and haste to the player, maybe both. Okay, so we've got some loot and the craftables sorted out, now we need to design the fight itself. How do you summon this boss and where do you fight it? The Ender Dragon needs a lot of space, and I imagine the Sky Serpent would too. I'd probably make the Sky Serpent destroy blocks in a similar way as the dragon. As for summoning, I think it would be a good idea to have a sky idol that you could find in a chest. And when you put this idol on a sky pedestal, which you would have to craft, while you're at least 200 blocks high, the boss is summoned and the fight begins. This way, the player either has to climb a mountain, which would be epic, or build a battle arena specifically for this fight, kinda like Terraria. And there you have it, 4 of your half-formed ideas turned into fully fleshed out concepts, courtesy of me. What do you think? Which of these do you want to see become real? Do you have any ideas of your own that you want to share? Don't be shy, drop them in the comments. Or even better, join the Discord, go to the Mod Ideas channel, and leave them there. I'm always looking for some new inspiration, and I love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.